building a house, slow and steady, right? Brick by brick is better than the pop-up quick house. All right. Number 3, it says, find an area of concern that instills a passionate response in you. Okay. And begin to work to alleviate the respective obstacles to produce the change you want to see in that area. What is it that you're passionate about? Maybe not for me. I love teaching. Okay. I love teaching. That's what excites me to do. Not everybody likes to get up and talk in front of people. Maybe your passion is fundraising. My wife's passion is activism, fighting for or giving the voice to those that don't have a voice. Okay. What is it that you're passionate about? And bring all of you to benefit this ummah. Don't bring all of you just to make money. Right? Don't bring all of you just to get notoriety. Bring all of you to benefit the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever your passion is, if it's finance, right? Teach people how to work with money in Islam. If it's mentoring, see the people that need the assistance and help them. If it's computers, if it's whatever it is, bring all of you to it. Okay? And this is a point that we have to understand. Not all of the Sahaba were the same. Okay? Not all of the Sahaba were scholars. We only probably know this religion has been narrated to us from probably 7 people of all of the companions. I think the unofficial that they say is at the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, there was over 100,000 companions, right? But of those over 100,000 companions, you're only getting knowledge narrated to you from about 7 of them, right? Abu Huraira, Abdullah ibn Masud, Aisha, Ibn Omar, Ibn Abbas, right? Who else? Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? You don't hear knowledge being narrated to us from the multitude of the other wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Some of them were warriors, right? Some of them were Anas ibn Malik, right? It's very a funny story that I've always, one of my teachers told a story of Anas ibn Malik. He went to his brother's house, right? He went to his brother's house. Now you have Anas ibn Malik, who was the servant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 10 years. But he goes to his I think it was his older brother's house, and his older brother's house is sitting there with his bow across his chest, strumming it and singing like it's a guitar. And he's strumming, bong, bong, he's strumming his guitar. And Anas ibn Malik, who sat at the feet of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's going crazy because how are you sitting up here singing and strumming this, right? But the difference is Anas ibn Malik's tool was his knowledge to draw nearer to Allah and to help the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His older brother, I'm forgetting his name, his older brother's tool and to draw nearer and to help this ummah was that bow, right? That bow. And that's what he said, right? That's what he said. He dedicated his life to dying Shaheed in war for the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His passion was not knowledge. That's his brother. His passion was to stand up and to fight for this ummah, right? So whatever your passion is, bring it to the table, and don't bring it whole or half-heartedly. Bring it wholeheartedly to this table, right? To help out the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then that passion will turn into ibadah, right? If you are a comedian, right? There is a man that I'm forgetting his name, but he used to play practical jokes on the companions all the time. He actually sold one of the companions into slavery as a practical joke, right? And the man goes and he runs to the Prophet Muhammad Islam, because when the man came to claim his property, right? He's like, this man has sold me into slavery. I'm sorry, I get excited. And the Prophet Muhammad Islam just laughed. He just laughed. He said, no, you can't do this, But if your passion is to put a smile on the believer's face, bring it. Bring it. Okay? Bring it. And don't be light or in that which benefits the community. Okay? So before we get to the last, any points, statements, anybody want to say anything? Interactive class, guys. Yes.
Specifically, his job was to bash, the people who bashing the prophet. And but he was also very afraid in battle. And battle was not his thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the battle of conduct. That's the French.
Yeah.
He was left with the women and children, and they were about to do the sneak attack and try to get the women and children. And he was the only man there. And one of the sisters was like, "Hey, you gotta step up and protect us." And he just was not about it.
He wasn't about it.
Step up and defend.
Mm-hmm.
That was just his strength, his words.
Yeah. Not everybody. We don't all have the same strength, right? But we bring what we bring, and we should bring it wholeheartedly, right? Some people have good recitation, right? Some people have good Quran memorization. Some people know the Arabic language. Some people don't. Bring it. Help build, right? You isolate it, and I'll say this one slow. Hopefully, if people, right? If you're isolated, right, and you're not benefiting the ummah in any way, shape, or form, what benefit are you? Islam is not an isolated individual religion, right? It is not. It is a religion to be practiced in a group, right? It is a religion to be practiced in a group, right? So that's something that we must think about. Okay. So thank you for that. Thank you. Anyone else want to? All right. Okay. And so those are the points. So, and even, right, even for the women in war, right, you have Nusayba. Have you guys heard of Nusayba? Right. Nusayba is her story is an amazing story, right? And how she transformed, right? So of course, while her sons and her husband were alive, right, she was supporting them. She was not on the battlefield while her sons and husbands were alive. But when they all were martyred, right, she took it. This is her personal, right? This is an obligation. If my sons and my husband took bay'ah with the Prophet Muhammad to defend him, right, even though they're gone. And sometimes we tell these stories, but we don't realize how emotional that might be. Though my sons and my husband are gone, I have to continue this bay'ah, right? And she fought, right? She fought. Not only did she fight, and there's a disagreement or amongst the scholars of Islam of who, after the death of the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims had to actually deal with Musaylama, Kadhab, the liar prophet, right? There is a disagreement as far as who delivered the death blow, right? Was it Bilal and his spear, or was it Nusayba and her sword, right? So whatever you bring it to the best of your ability. Okay, whatever you bring. And so we know that, and this is something that we have to understand, you will be tested. You will be tested in your lives. You'll be tested in your wealth, right? you're going to be tested. Whether you try to stay in your house and just huddle away, or you're out in the open, you're going to be tested. It's just a reality, right? And if we could, if you know, I teach AP human history, AP world history. I teach human geography as well, AP human geography, but AP world history. And one of the points that I try to teach the students is that what happened to the Muslim Ummah, right? Where at one point in time, right, we were one of the most powerful, right? Until now, right? Everybody eats away at us and tells the Muslims what you going and what you ain't gonna do. Okay. But a lot of that has to do with us, instead of seeing ourselves as a collective ummah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, to dividing ourselves up into nations and states, and then allowing for us to be dictated to, right, by forces that don't have the benefit of the Muslims and the Muslim ummah at heart, right? So we're not going to divide ourselves into smaller communities and nations and states. And no, we're the ummah, and I'm bringing it, right? Whatever it is that I have. So the first step on the agenda to change our conditions is to create a study group. Okay. If you don't feel like you're able, if you don't want to create, right, join. I have a study group that I've been doing on Zoom for over 2 years now, teaching Maliki fiqh, right? How to pray, how to make wudu. We're covering the fiqh of fasting, right? Then we'll cover the fiqh of zakat, right? The fiqh of hajj, right? And of course the fiqh of shahada, of our belief, which is, you know, termed aqidah, right? We touch on that as well. Okay. Traditional knowledge connected to the salaf, which have a clear chain to the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Okay. Study group. If you don't like my form of teaching, you got a multitude of other study groups that you can join, whether it's in person or online. Join, right? That's the first step. The second step, create a dawah group. Get out. It might be a little uncomfortable, but teach people. Teach your circle first, your family, and a little bit wider, your overall family, right? Everybody in your family should know that you are a practicing Muslim, right? And if you go to a family function, if you don't have Muslim family, they should know. Don't offer you none of that alcohol. Don't offer you none of them tweeds. They should know, right? If they don't know, that's a problem, right? If they don't know, that's a problem. You're not doing your job. Okay? So create a dawah group, an outreach program, right, for people to learn about this religion. The next point, whatever your passion may be, whatever your passion it may be, bring it to the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Okay? And then number 4 of the 4 that we talked about at the beginning of the class, right? This religion is based on the recognition of abilities of believers that make up the ummah, and facilitating for them the use of their respective gift. We need to understand that if one person focuses upon an area that differs from our own areas of concern, he or she is complementing our own work and not distracting from it by not joining us. Okay. So essentially what I would say is this, right? There's 2 concepts, right, that we know. There's backbiting, right? There's backbiting, ghiba, right? And then there's another one, namima, right? And that is storytelling, talking, right? So it's talking about people, right? Ghiba, backbiting, and then telling stories about, right, what has happened, right? So if you see that, you know, I'm not a perfect human being, right? If you saw me out doing something that I wasn't supposed to do, you come to me and you say, brother, this ain't right. Alhamdulillah, you're right for that. But when you turn and you go to Abdullah and say, Abdullah, did you know what I heard or what I saw Brother Shaheed doing? Right? Now, not that's storytelling and backbiting. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the biggest issues in our community. Whether it's online, right? We want to show our astuteness and our knowledge. So I'm arguing with people online and I'm going and telling people, or or whatever it may be. I read an article online that such and such certain bad Brad Pitt did this, Will Smith did this, Chris Rock said that. Right? And as Muslims, as believers, we should not have any part of that foolishness. And it's hard, right? It is hard because the nafs, our lower selves, loves the gossip, right? It loves the gossip. It loves the slander, right? It loves this. But if we really want to change our condition, right? If I see a sister and her abaya is a little too tight, first and foremost, right? I want to talk to, or send a sister to talk to that. Not astaghfirullah, right? Astaghfirullah, haram, right? What's the benefit of that? Is that going to help this sister become a better Muslim? No, it won't, right? I was talking to an imam was telling the story. They were having a conference. And this is something that I'll be honest with you, that I love about my people, right? And at the conference, there was a sister, there was a woman, not Muslim, right? Well, I'm sorry, she was Muslim, right? But she had come and, her clothes was a little form-fitting. And those sisters surrounded her with love. And so what the imam said, of course, they don't know what they said. He just saw it from a distance. The next day, mashallah, everything is straight. This is how we build community. This is how we change our condition. Right? If I'm trying to teach, if my passion is teaching, and I say something that I went overboard, or I went out of my lane, that's not for you to say, oh, Brother Shaheed went out of his lane. You know what he said? He said this, and the third. I can't believe that. That brother ain't got no knowledge. Right? That's not our religion. Right? This is not what we do. But unfortunately, we all know that this is what we do. It's not what we should do, but this is what we do. Right? I've actually thought about, I think I make a lot of money if I actually do it. Getting a pin to pin on my shirt, I don't backbite. Just so they know, right? Just so that they know. Read the shirt. So when they start it, I just point to because it's hard. Your knives is hard. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. Brother, let's talk about something else. I don't want to backbite on this brother right now. Or not right. I don't want to backbite on this brother. That's hard to do. Let's just be honest. It's hard to do. We know it's not, we know we shouldn't do it, but sometimes our lower selves want to do it. Right? But we have to fight against that. We have to fight against that. Okay. So this is when we support each other in that which is good. Right? We encourage the good, we forbid the wrong. Okay? But that's a science, right? And this is the issue of people just reading the Quran, right? And knowing there is a science to forbidding the wrong. You see your mother doing something crazy, you see your dad doing something that you disagree with, and you got children now talking crazy to their parents. There is a science to forbidding the wrong. Okay. And then on the flip side, if a brother comes to me and checks me on my behavior, right, I have to kill my nafs, right? I should have been doing, as Imam Inshira says, the heart work, which is hard work, right? I should be doing the heart work, so that when I recognize that when that brother is checking me or my wife is checking me, right, that is coming from Allah to get me in order. I don't start with who the devil, I said it before, and I ain't gonna lie. Who the devil you think you are? You know what I'm saying? No, that's not a part of it. Get my ego out of it. Right? Allah is trying to check me now. If you keep on going, guess what? The checking's gonna get harder and harder and harder. So the sooner that you get over you being a knucklehead, right? And adhere to the lesson that's being taught to you, that you know that you're being disobedient, and you get yourself back in obedience, then Allah won't continue on with the difficulties, right? So just to recap and to finish, our 4 steps, right? Our 4 steps. And I pray that we take this information and we share this information to those that aren't here, okay? That we take this information, we share this information to those that aren't here. First and foremost, form a study group, okay? Shameless plug. I have a study group Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm gonna move it to Thursdays. I don't know, my oldest sister, she was actually my first. I started the class because of her. And I'll tell you the story that she called me one time. This was on her 51st birthday. And it was after her 51st birthday, and she was crying. And not just crying, snot crying. We all been there. Snot crying, snot bubble crying, right? And she said, I don't know if I got 51 more years, right? I don't know if I got 51 more years. And I've wasted the 51 that I've had being silly, right? And says, I gotta learn this religion, right? And so at that point in time, I have an older brother, and I was trying to put it off on him because teaching is heavy sometimes, right? Because by what you teach is what people, as a law, is going to judge some people by what you teach. So if you teaching them that funny business, it's going to come back to you, right? So I'm trying to push it off on my brother, but he had a lot going on, and I was like, well, somebody has to teach. And so I started teaching him. And so we have to understand this. You don't know how much time you got left. You'd be foolish to think you got a lot. You'd be a fool to think that, right? If you to see yourself with grays, hairs, and grandchildren, and you would be a fool. Yes, you can hope for it, but you would be a fool to think that that's going to happen. So call yourself to account immediately, right now. Let's go, right now. So the first step, join a study group, okay? Join a study group. And if you need more information about my study group, let me know. Okay, I'll get it to you. Second, create a dawah group. Okay, some form of dawah, something, right? And try to have it be effective, right? We are blessed with a simple message or tweet or can reach 1,000 people in less than an hour today, right? Something people have to know outwardly that you are Muslim. You have to be telling people that you're Muslim. Something that's effective, so that if people need help, they got somewhere they can go. Okay, I don't know, but I can call Brother Shaheed and he can help me out, right? They have to know that you're Muslim, right? So the step 2, create a dawah program, right? And let's start being a little more efficient and maybe even a little forceful, right? Letting people know this is what I'm about. This is what I'm about, right? And it's very important, guys. It's very important. And I'll say this in our community, it's very important. I had a sister come to my wife, and she that she wanted to become Muslim. Her husband is not Muslim, but she wanted to become Muslim. The first thing that she's told is, you got to divorce your husband. That's the first thing that she's told. If you become Muslim, you got to divorce your husband. What are the chances now that if this woman knows that she's going to become Muslim, she's got to divorce her husband, that she's going to continue down this path? Instead of us saying, okay, you want to become Muslim, well, let's talk to your husband and see if maybe he wants to become Muslim. But the first thing that we're told, and this is how certain communities think, oh, well, if you become Muslim, you got to divorce your husband and break up a whole family. And educationally, that's not even true. Right? So we have to be outward speaking, teaching people, so that if people have questions, they know to come, right? They know to come to us. Okay? Number 3, whatever it is that you're passionate about, bring it to the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever that ummah is, or whatever that passion is, bring it. Okay? It's not benefiting you. It's not if it's not benefiting Allah and His messengers community, then it's really not benefiting anyone. Allah put that passion, that knowledge in you for a specific reason. Okay? Use it. And then lastly, work and don't take away from anybody else's work. Remove this backbiting, storytelling, right? Because we have seen it over and over and over again. Every time there's a movement, all it takes is one backbiter, one storyteller, and the entire movement falls apart. Okay? The entire movement falls apart. And if we can implement those 4 things, alhamdulillah, I think it would be great. Okay, that's it. Any questions, guys, before I end? Yes. Mm-hmm. It's so easy. Yes. Yeah. So we remind each other. Mm-hmm. You know, I couldn't have a little strong because I feel so that the people that kind of shy away from, you know, telling me things that I probably already, you know, be told. Mm-hmm. So if you see me doing anything like, you know, I can't get your advice. Yeah. So tell me. Mm-hmm. Tell me. If I see you doing anything. Yeah. So when we do that, that's how coming from the place of love, because we genuinely want each other to get each other. Yeah. And I also want to make to ask a question concerning the doubt, you know, because I have a lot of time to remember, and you know, bringing it up to them, and especially certain people in the family, they take it very, it doesn't matter how gentle I am, you know, even if I don't mention it, just by me getting up and kind of pray. You know, I have one family member that she's all of them just kind of like, just kind of pray. I'm trying to just, you know, how big, and I'm not doing, I'm trying to fight my beat. She's thinking about what kind of nature. So when do you stop? When people have told you they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. So when do you stop bringing it up? Okay, well, I'll say in that case, right, your character, let that be the dawah, right? Let that be the dawah. That's still dawah. Don't get me wrong, right? That's still dawah. How you deal, how you talk, how you don't talk, right? That's still dawah, right? So your character in those cases, right? I think the most of us, you know, that are Muslim, and if we, especially if we came from the 90s, right? We've been well versed in Christianity as well, right? And so a part of the dawah, like when I worked in corrections, and I used to, you know, talk to the guys there, we'd argue sometimes, right? But a lot of the dawah was that, you know what, I can talk to you in your religion as well, right? getting them to understand that there really isn't that much of a difference between Islam and Christianity, right? So the issues that they may have, well, okay, well, and if you're a Christian, aren't you a Christian? If they're not, I mean, that changes things a little bit, but I'm praying. I'm praying just like my Lord. Don't you pray? Right? There's more prayer than just going to church. You know what I'm saying? And that's I wouldn't say that, but in your character, right, could be that dawah that you know, what I'm saying? And then of course there are some people, right, that Allah has destined to the fire. That's just a reality. But that's between that person and Allah. That's not between us and Allah, right? Or us and that person. So for us, right, okay, I've tried. Well, I'm just gonna give you dawah through this character, right? I'm sorry that I love you, but I'm sorry if me getting up to pray bothers you, you know. But I got to get it in. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say that I would, yes.
That I identify with so much of what you've been saying today because when I first started, like when you first come into Islam and you learn and it's like this light bulb goes off, you're like so ready to like just bash people and be, especially coming from a Christian background myself. Mm-hmm. My cousin was like the closest person to me, her husband, he's a pastor, and just growing up in that church and growing up having the questions that I had, when I finally got those questions answered, I was ready to, meet them head on with whatever, and but gradually over time, I've started to realize to pray for wisdom because, the script, the Quran said that the messenger was sent with the knowledge and wisdom. And so what I see wisdom as is gaining the knowledge, like they said, forming study groups, get the dawah program, learn that your duty is to give dawah, but then pray for wisdom and how to do it best so that I know when to speak, when to be silent, when it's best to do either one, because you don't know in certain situations. And what I've learned is just like you said, maybe the approach is it best to argue with them, with different knowledge. Maybe it's just, I show up to my aunt's house, I give her whatever I can. I'm nice. I speak the way that I speak in a better way, and that would be more effective than what I was doing before, which kind of caused strife.
Yeah.
And you have this fear, especially being the only Muslim in my family, you have this fear of losing connection with everybody that you care about, and that's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to give it in the best way, not doing my duty, but how to do it, so that it produces results. And like you said, with the example of Sufian, just you never know how long it may take.
You never know.
As long as you stay around, do your best. That's all that allows. Mm-hmm. And then two, about when people are being harsh. I just was recently reading that, when the ignorant or whatever, do their stuff, classify them with peace. And sometimes I slip away. You don't even notice I'm gone. Like I've gone on trips with them, and I'm out the door and back before they even know that I've talked to them. Do stuff in the best way. I'm not here to cause any problems, but I'm gonna do what I have to do. But I'm gonna do so in a way that creates peace.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very in the verse that you mentioned in the English. Again, I'm trying to learn the Arabic, and so, but it's what the scholars talk about that is that the Prophet is given knowledge and wisdom. So the knowledge is the Quran, the wisdom is the Sunnah, right? And so we understand, even if we study the Sunnah, this is very important for having the study groups, right? How the Prophet gave his dawah and how it changed, right? How he was in Mecca was not how he was in Medina, right? There is a way in which you have to move if you don't hold the power. And then there is a way that you move when you do hold the power, right? There is a way that you move in your house, right? But then, like for me, when I enter into a household, right, or a family function, right, I no longer am the authority, right? I'm not the authority. I can't go and start bucking the system, and so I have to move a little bit differently. Now, of course, with my non-Muslim family, I know there's some function that I go to, some functions I'm just going to show my face, and I'm going to go and, I'm going to go and hug the aunties and, just my oldest aunt on my father's side, not Muslim, but, they just buried her yesterday. But you go and you hug them because they're still your family, right? we're told to maintain family ties. It doesn't say maintain Muslim family ties. Don't say that, right? It says maintain family ties, right? A lot of our friends from other parts of the world might not understand the struggle because many of us don't have a family that's filled with Muslims, right? The majority of us we might be the only Muslim or the only Muslim family amongst, hundreds of people, you know what I'm saying? But you maintain family ties, you speak nicely to people, right? And like you said, you have knowledge and wisdom, right? You don't have the authority here, right? So I'm not going to wage war where there's no authority, you know. But now if you come to my house, we got a different, different situation, but this, yeah, I agree with everything that you said. 100%. 100%. Anything else? Anything else? All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and finish up. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I pray that we continue to grow, right? That we take these words and we try our best to benefit ourselves, our families, our communities, right? And the ummah at large through these conditions or these agendas to change our conditions, to act, right? That's the most important thing. Islam is a verb. It is an action word. It is not something that just sits there in your heart, right? It's from the scholars, there's it's not dalaga, but it's looking at the Arabic word, and they break it down and they create it into a physical manifestation, right? And they said it's having shukr, right? And shukr means gratitude, but they said that shukr is more than gratitude, right? So it's shakara, right? So when they broke that word down, shukr, having gratitude, it's a vibration that you have in your body, right? And it starts in the heart, shukr, shh. And so you kind of, it's like you said, when you become Muslim, right? Now your insides are shaking, right? I am in a state of Islam, right? And we pray that Allah that He puts this in us. So we shukr, it's in us, right? And then it says ka, it's a heavy thing, ka, sha, ka, which means that now it pushes and it weighs on our limbs, right? This Islam that was in our heart, now it's in our head. Oh, I got to get this out. My hands is going to, it's going to give me and take me to what Allah loves. My feet is going to take me to the masjid, this heavy. And then it says ra, right? Sha, ka, ra. And then this shukr just explodes from our body, right? Explodes from our body. And that's what shukr is, right? It's more than, it starts in our heart, right? This love that we have for this ummah, this love that we have for this knowledge, this love that we have for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba, right? His family, the love that we have for Allah. It's in our hearts. We can feel it, and it goes to our limbs, and then it explodes out, right? Where we tell people we don't hide this religion, right? We don't hide this knowledge. We are shakur. We are grateful for everything that Allah has given us, because He could have taken it from us. We see those all around us. It's like, man, if you only had, like I tell my students, could you imagine a world where you don't know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It just seems like a dark place, right? But this is what this religion is about: being being shakur, being a grateful servant, right? So I pray that Allah allows us and makes us into grateful servants. I pray that Allah allows for us to become intimate with the Quran, right? That this Quran, and I love to say, becomes the spring of our heart, that which causes it to grow, to beautify. As we look outside and we're coming out of the winter months and we're coming into the beauty of spring, right? But also the spring that makes our heart leap for joy, right? Because we are in this state of Islam, right? And I pray that we allow for ourselves to allow other people to see the beauty of this religion. I pray that we send that Allah sends peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, upon his family, upon the believers. I pray that Allah sends guidance to the disbelieving folk, so that they, like us, can come to benefit the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. As Imam Inshra says, we pray that Allah guides both the young and the old, from the whitest of white to the blackest of black, and that all can stand firm on the firm and strong words of La ilaha illallah wa Muhammadan Rasulullah. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ